This episode 210 of Frame and Reference. You're about to drop into a conversation between me, Kenny McMillan, and my guest Sebastian Klinger, DP of So Torn. Enjoy.
Yeah, you do a lot of color work, right? Like color and VFX stuff.
You mean color work?
Yeah, you're because you do you're a colorist and a VFX person too, right?
I am. I did color grade some of my projects. I don't do it as much, but I do have a background in visual effects. In that, since I'm very little, I didn't only film stuff. I also edited, and then enhanced the imagery with visual effects. So that's always been accompanying me. And I think it actually goes back to cinematography as well, because on set I kind of see what is possible after. I'm my own visual effects supervisor in a way, and it kind of helps for some sets to be more efficient and to offer something to a client that he wasn't aware of, where you could replace a sky or do something else. So I think it's a good side knowledge to have as a cinematographer.
Yeah, it's certainly for all the corporate or smaller commercials I do, because I'll end up being the editor for them. That's a good skill to have to make, that's how you can stretch your budget further. Because just the problem that I've run into recently is I have to get out of the habit of filming thinking that I will be able to color or edit it myself.
Yeah.
Because handing that footage off to someone else and then going oh fuck, I need to give them notes on when this was intended to be windowed down and delete this stand and whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
It's easy at a higher budget.
But it's a struggle. I think a lot of cinematographers face that they would like to have control, but obviously it's not possible in the majority of projects. And you just gotta, I don't know, let it go or make a deal to be part of it as well. And I think both is good to be able to do.
Yeah. I was looking through your work, and it does seem like you kind of had the sort of I guess filmmaker's dream. I feel like everyone who gets into film always doesn't know what the various jobs are or anything. They're just I'm gonna make movies. It's very nebulous. But looking at the stuff you've done, you kind of just did that. I'm the DP here, the VFX supervisor here, the director, the producer, you just kind of, but actually made a career of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I fulfilled a lot of roles there in the beginning. I think I tried to specifically do cinematography now, and also producing, which got my interest lately too with a couple of projects. But it's always fun to shoot stuff and to be around people and create things. So that's my ultimate goal. Yeah,
I don't know if I could handle producing. That feels too stressful.
Yeah. No, it's fun. And I think I like to produce because I know I'm going to be the DP as well. So I've never actually produced a film that I didn't do the cinematography on. And I think then it's a different thing, because when you do all the pre-production and the preparations and scheduling, I've done that, and location scouting, everything, you also look at it through the lens of a cinematographer. Knowing that you'll be on the set that day, and you'll have the best lighting because you scheduled it before yourself. I think it's a nice thing to do on the side, but only for the projects that I DP. Yeah.
Well, and also probably because even So Torn doesn't feel that big. It's a big film, but it's not that. I feel like producing something like that is far more manageable than if you were going to try to do I don't know. Have you done a commercial? No, you did a commercial for Microsoft, right? I was going to say a big company. I was going to name one, and then I was there was a Microsoft one.
I've done a couple of big brands like McDonald's, but those were always kind of tight crews. I've never worked on a film set with 100+ people.
Right.
To be honest, So Torn is my biggest project so far, and we had around 25 people on set every day, and I think it was a great size for what it was, because we were in that secluded location. We all slept in the same place, we ate together, and then you get really this feeling of like classmates just going on a trip. And I think with like 200 or 300 people, you start to lose that. I think I've never experienced it. So producing something of the size of So Torn was like a huge, like a fantastic experience because of its size, I think.
Yeah, I've interviewed a few people who have shot films about that, you know, with that like crew size and stuff, and it does seem to be that similar. Like you just said, we slept in the same place, we all hung out. A lot of times it'll be like we slept in the place we were filming, so you don't even have to tear down the equipment. You just they're all walkaways, you know, and I feel like that's
exactly.
a nice way to work.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, and yeah, I think I might want to try the other thing too. I mean, I don't know where my career is bringing me, but for right now, the So Torn project felt like the right thing to do. And as you said, it was manageable to do both producing and cinematography. And it might be the case in a bigger project, it's not possible anymore to do both. And then I would probably just do cinematography because that's like my ultimate passion.
Yeah.
Yes.
What got you kind of started? Like, what were your influences growing up as like DP influences?
Yeah, well, my first influence was my dad, I think, because he owned a camera, and then I got to be around that camera since I'm 11 years old. And so we always shot these projects as a family and friends or from school, like influenced by like Indiana Jones and Star Wars, like the big Hollywood blockbusters at that time. And we kind of recreated them in our garden, and then we would do camping trips and do that in the forest. And I think by studying it later on in Switzerland, I really felt like this passion of mine that kept growing I was able to turn it into a profession and make a living out of it. And so I always like, I mean, I followed the big DPs that are around, like Eman Lubetsky when he won 3 Oscars in a row. That was like just mind blowing. And just recently I yeah, and like also for So Torn, there was a big influence actually for Children of Men. That there was the approach for this project. But yeah, I just love seeing all these DPs work and go to the theater and watch all that.
Yeah, dude, I remember when Children of Men came out. That was a big deal. There's like a handful of movies that I feel like the cinematography got past, you know, broke out of the bubble of like movie nerds. Like I feel like Children of Men was one, 300 was one, obviously The Matrix. I'm trying to think of the other ones that like were so visually, because Children of Men isn't even really that like I don't want to say, because if you say The Matrix, like that's a whole extravaganza. Children of Men is pretty grounded, but it's still, everyone was like, did you see they shot the thing one take, you know, like one take. Exactly. No one had ever seen that.
Yeah. And maybe to some extent also the work of Roger Deakins that he did with the Coen brothers, like Fargo, and actually No Country for Old Men was also a big influence. And I think, yeah, Fargo maybe even more. I think also, like you said, burst the bubble in terms of people talking about it visually as well.
Yeah.
It was a totally different approach than Children of Men, but I think equally as grounded in the storytelling, and it just made these two people I guess the biggest DPs alive at that time, and I think they influenced me a lot, probably.
Did you come to it from like a because I feel like every DP kind of, you either come from it from like for instance, I should have gotten into props. I discovered way late in life, like when I was like 30, that I wanted to make the lightsaber, not film the lightsaber, if that makes any sense, you know. But I just wanted, the idea of filming it was the only thing I could think of, and it seemed like a technical skill. Like I knew you know, I was a photographer when I was younger, and I was like, oh, I don't know, you know, especially before digital came out, I was like, I don't think people know how to shoot film. I do. And now, of course, everyone fucking shoots. Everyone's a DP now. But did you come from it from like that type of technical angle, or was it more like a lighting thing, or were compositions speaking to you?
I think, and that's an interesting question. I think I actually came more from a directing angle. because for some years I directed stuff, like short films and also commercials. Like when there was like no agency attached, I would just be directing, and I think that really helped me in like communicating with people and like shaping the narrative. And I think because I fulfilled a lot of different roles in the beginning, like I edited as well those projects, I really got this overall sense of the storytelling of the project and really like bring it down to what's the essentials. And then cinematography kind of emerged as the tool that you're able to communicate a lot with. And I think at that time I found out that I'm better with the camera in my hand and let someone else talk to the actors rather than do it myself as well. But having done it earlier, I think helped me. And technically, in the from the technological aspects of filmmaking, I'm actually not drawn towards as other DPs. Like I know my way around the technological side and like the aspects of a camera, but whenever like I'm in a group of DPs and we would nerd about the newest gear coming out, I'm like the quietest one because I'm actually more coming from the storytelling side and not the technical aspects of it. But I use it as a tool, and so I don't know what well, I kind of know what came out lately, but it's not that I need to buy everything that's new. I'd rather try to like get more knowledge about how can I, with my existing gear or like with other tools, make my stories better rather than just buy the newest camera.
Right. Well, and now, I mean, I've said this a billion times, but like every camera since 2015, like, okay, the only time you would need to get a new camera is if there was some, if your existing camera didn't have built-in NDs. Like I would be like, that's probably something you should invest in. I just bought an F55.
Oh,
because I was shooting second unit on this docuseries, and I was renting an FX6, and they weren't necessarily thrilled with it, and I was like, well, I just got a really good deal on an F55. Should I use that? And they're like, yes, absolutely use that. And that thing's from 2012.
Yeah, it's like way older tech, but it looks big, right? So those are clients that like for them it's important that it looks big, the setup. And
no, it has nothing to do with the body. It's literally the image.
Oh, okay.
It was just that the first unit is shooting Venice, and so the F55 is like the precursor to the Venice, and they and I can shoot the 16-bit RAW. On the F55, and so the camera itself they didn't give a shit, but it was they just wanted to keep it a Sony project, and the FX6, which I know you shot this on, which I would have never guessed. The FX6, they just did, it looked too different from the Venice, and I guess the F55 doesn't. But
I got to test the Burano that Sony brought out at Kamerimage in Poland. I think that's probably meant to be like as a B cam if the Venice is the A cam. So maybe there's an opportunity for you to try that out as well.
So my friend Jake Bain bought one. My friend Valentina has one too. But me and Jake are going to do a shootout between my C500 Mark II, my F55, his Burano, and then maybe I'm going to probably go to the rental house and get an Alexa as well, just like an Alexa Classic or a Mini or whatever, just to see, because it's interesting. I think the Burano, I haven't used it yet, so it obviously looks great, but I think the lineage of the Burano is more like, in like A7, FX9, FX6, Burano, or however you want to. That was the release schedule, but however you want to do that. And then the F55, it went F65, F55, Venice. So I'm wondering if that, I don't know how Sony. I'd never talked to Sony about anything, so I don't know how they thought about those two things. But I agree that it seems like the Burano should be the B cam to the Venice, but I don't know. So we're gonna test it.
Yeah, that's good. I'm excited to see that shootout.
Yeah,
they're nice people at Sony actually. They wrote an article about the film because, as you said, the So Torn was shot on FX6, and it's not very common, I think, to use it for feature films. And so I pestered them for like around a year to write something, like write a story about them. And they finally did, and they're really nice people at Sony. So I'm inclined to use the Burano on a next feature project, just because I loved like the Sony, the whole cosmos of Sony gear and how they play together.
Yeah.
And I think the Burano fits quite well into it, and it's like, I think it would be a step up from the FX6.
Oh, for sure.
I'm also like, it might sound that I've never shot with like an Alexa or something. I did. I'm just, whenever the project allows, I do like smaller camera bodies, because then I'm more agile, I'm faster. I can do more handheld the whole day for like a month. And for Sotorn, that proved very critical to get all the shots we needed, and to really feel this like naturalistic approach that we had based on the short film that we also shot.
Yeah.
And so that FX6 actually proved the perfect camera for that.
Well, and so that's a good point about like between the F55 and like the Burano or the FX6 or anything, is like no autofocus in the F55, slower menus, no stabilization. You know, it's not. I mean, it is a documentary camera technically, but more like a TV camera. Whereas exactly like you said, like FX6, Burano, FX9 are so easy to just run with and not. I loved I was looking at your Instagram, the behind the scenes photos. You have the microphone, you got a shotgun mic on it's just so out of character for a feature film to be shot like, like a short film or whatever.
Yeah, it looks more like a documentary. And my sound guy just put one on, and I like, well, yeah, whatever. It didn't bother me at all. And maybe you've noticed in the picture also that there was like no focus motor on it.
Yeah, you're shooting on a G Master, right? The zoom.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
just that one lens.
No, we had a couple of that lineup. The 24-70 was like the main lens, because you can cover everything with that. And the 16-35 we used for like a couple of wide shots and like some running around, and then you get this like crazy in a tunnel vision feeling, and like a zoom lens for like really close up of faces. But yeah, these zoom lenses allowed me to almost never swap lenses.
Yeah.
And to not have a focus puller.
Just use an autofocus.
Autofocus, and I pulled myself. I really grew up pulling my own focus, so I was really used to it, and it felt right for this project to not have a focus puller. I did have an AC helping me with everything, which was great, but the focus I did myself.
Well, and I will say, like, I've only used the FX6, like I said, for this docuseries, but they were all sit-down interviews, so it was just like, I wasn't really using it. I just hit record. But the other day I shot something with my buddy Joey Famelli, and I was following him and this guy around the ASC clubhouse, talking about, his name's Stephen Gaynor. He's the ASC librarian, and he was showing us like the history of cameras. And so that was the first time that I'd actually used the FX6. And I will say the like poke to focus, my C500 has it, and it's like fine. C70 has it, it's fine. But I will say like the tap to focus on the FX6 was really nice, and especially being able to just go manual and have it disengage the autofocus like immediately is very nice. Yeah. I think, and maybe you have to tell me if we're talking about too much about autofocus and Sony, but what is nice is when people turn their backs towards the camera, it's rather difficult for the autofocus to get it right, because it doesn't have a face to register. So what I would do is have it manual when the person has their back to the camera, and then as soon as they turn around, I would like flip on the autofocus, and it does it instantly and flawlessly. And then maybe like flip it back to manual if the person like leaves the frame or something. Yeah. So it's like really integrated and really cleverly designed, I think, and it worked great on this project. Yeah, I mean, you had sort of storytelling creatively. How did you? A lot of people talk about using prime lenses because it's a creative constraint that helps. If you have every option under the sun, you just get decision paralysis, and so you're shooting a zoom the whole time. How did you decide what focal lengths to go with? Did you just sit there and kind of wing it until the composition looked right, or like what was your thought process there?
So Freddie McDonald and me, the director and me, we would shot list the entire film, right? So we had everything really planned out, and we knew what shots we wanted to get. And I think in the shot list, I think we marked like what approximate focal length we were imagining the shot to be, like if it's like a 50 or like a 35 or 24. And then I think on set, we would probably try out that first, or like in that range. And then if I saw like, oh yeah, in the 30, it would look better than a 35, I would just do that. And I think limiting myself with a prime didn't cross my mind. I don't think I would benefit from it, because I don't tend to have like decision paralysis.
Yep.
On the other hand, I think it allows me to be more flexible and get a better shot, because I have the freedom to zoom in and out. And the other thing that really helped with this is to be super fast. Like, as you maybe saw in the film or in the trailer, a lot of the stuff that happens in the film is not only happening up here in the faces, but also down here on the hands, because there's a lot of thread involved and needles.
Way more than I thought. Even though the movie is called So Torn and it's about a seamstress, there's a lot of thread play in the film.
Yes. Yeah. So that it has like a very physical aspect to it, the whole film. And we needed to get all these shots on the threads and the needles and the hands. And so we needed to be super fast every day, and we wouldn't have gotten that with primes. But instead, like, we would get insert after insert on the hands. Like the actors really, they learned how to handle these threads, because those were like kind of real thread rigs that Freddie and his dad designed. They both wrote the script together, and they would like design it at their house, and then the actors would learn it. And so they all did it for real. And so I just pointed my camera there, and they did all the magic. And I think that also helped to have the zooms, have this speed.
Well, yeah, because I saw in an interview, he was talking about, the interviewer, I think it was Variety or Hollywood Reporter or whoever, was like, how realistic are some of these contraptions? And he was like, no, we made them. We technically tested it out. They technically could happen.
Yeah. Yeah, the dad, Fred McDonald, the dad of Freddie, he even told one story that he would, as a child, he used a needle and a piece of paper to build a dart gun that he would then blow around the classroom and shoot at some people, I think, or like kids. I think it was quite dangerous, actually. And then the actress also shot around her family's home and would scare her whole family. But these all worked. Yeah, these rigs, they're crazy.
I've actually done, back in elementary school, me and my friends would cut the tips. You'd get like a mechanical pencil, and we'd cut the reservoir for the lead a little short, and then we'd take a rubber band, put a pin in the back of the rubber band, so you had like a pinball kind of thing, and then we put BBs in it and like shoot BBs at each other.
Oh shit.
And then we started getting what are they called? Like the sewing, not the sewing needle, but like the one with the little ball on the end to like hold things in place. Then we'd start loading those in and shooting them at each other. And that's when the teachers got involved.
Yeah.
The principal was very proud of us for engineering it, but not happy that we were shooting fucking needles at each other from across.
Yeah. And so you stopped eventually.
Yeah, so we had to stop, but only at school.
Yeah.
You're in a unique position that I did want to talk about, which is you shot the short and the feature, and they're, at least for that inciting incident, remarkably similar. So I was and they're like, what, 5 years apart? That you shot?
Exactly.
So what, like, walk me through shooting the first one, the short film, and like, you know, the challenges you faced and all that. And then over the 5 years, what you learned to apply to the feature.
Yeah. So the short film, So Torn, was actually Freddie's application film for AFI. We shot a bunch of short films in Switzerland. He's half Swiss, half American. So when he was in Switzerland, we would shoot short films. And So Torn was his application film with the premise, a change of heart that he needed to revolve a story around. And so he wrote So Torn. And because we worked on all his previous short films, it just felt natural to collaborate again. We really work well together. Like we are also great friends now. And so in our shooting style, we didn't have a lot of resources. Like we were a crew of like 4 people, I think. And we needed to get it done on one day only in the Swiss Alps. And I would location scout that road that the whole short film takes place on. And then we would shoot it on one day, November of 2019. And yeah, it was just very, like, also because we shortlisted the whole short, we knew exactly what shots we needed to tell the story. But it was obviously like a lot of stress because it's like one day for an entire short film is not a lot. And in the steep valleys of Swiss mountains, like the sun is behind the next mountain, like pretty fast. And you only have, especially in November, you only have like a limited time of daylight. But it all worked out. And then he got into AFI thanks to the short film, as like the youngest director ever accepted, which is great. And then I think through AFI, he kind of learned that making a feature out of the short film might be a good idea. Also, Joel Cohen told him that. They got to meet for coffee, and Joel liked the short film. And he told him, guys, make a feature out of this. This is great. Because they did the same for Blood Simple, or out of like this concept trailer. And also they told him to do it like the independent way. So to get the funds independently, not to go to a big studio or anything. And then that's when he approached me again to tell me, are you in for a feature? We go back to Switzerland, to the same valley, to the same road, but we expand the narrative to way more, obviously, to like a 95-minute narrative. And I was hooked immediately. There was actually a different version of the script earlier on that was like linear. Mm-hmm. It was still the same inciting incident that happens in the feature that happened in the short, but then the Freddie and Fred, the writers, they kind of found this new way of telling the story, not linearly, but with like 3 separate stories that all revolve around the moment of decision making that Barbara, the protagonist, faces at this crime scene on the road, which is essentially what happens in the short film. And in the feature, we just explore 2 more decisions and the repercussions of what happens if she does that. And I think in between the short and the feature, I obviously was shooting stuff in Switzerland, some commercials, but also short films, and really learning to hone in my craft as well. And Freddie attended AFI, was really becoming like a great director. And then coming together again after these 5 years was so much fun. And we immediately like felt like this was like just 5 years ago. We would just pick it up where we left off. And yeah, this time we had obviously more resources at hand, which was nice. Mm-hmm. And my big goal, or our big goal, was to make the feature better than the short, because as you said, the short film is in itself is in the feature, like the 6-minute of the short film is also in the feature. Just I hope shot way better than the short.
It looks,
because we had.
I mean, I got to give you credit. Like, obviously, it does look better in the feature, but the short doesn't look that bad. Like, even in comparison, the short looks. You can tell it's. You can't even really tell that it's like. It's a very well shot. Although I did hear that technically you had to shoot it on an iPhone, so you had strapped a phone to the top of the A7, so you could get them both.
Yes, exactly. So I had my A7 III at that time, and then we would like mount the iPhone right on top of it, and we wouldn't even look at the iPhone version because we were like we thought like, yeah, well, let's get the Sony one out. And then surprisingly, Freddie took the iPhone version for his application to AFI.
From the interview I saw, he said it was a requirement that he had to submit the iPhone version to AFI. They wouldn't take the Sony one.
That is true. Yeah. But luckily we didn't just shoot it with an iPhone. But we had the Sony, and I think, we gave equally a focus on both of those, or I think more on the Sony, to be honest.
I would,
because we knew after AFI it just submitted as an application, but the one that it's being blasted out into the world will be the Sony one, and we're kind of glad that we did, because it got picked up by Searchlight and screened in theaters in the US, and people, to my surprising, people thought it wasn't a shot on Alexa or something. So I'm kind of happy how it turned out, but still I thought there could be improvement, obviously, and that's what I aimed for in the feature, to make it better.
Yeah, we gotta figure out. I want to see the iPhone version. But
yes, like the locked away versions of like Metropolis or something.
Right.
Rumors that go around.
Yeah. So what were you doing? Like, what were some of those things you improved on going into specifically with that, sort of inciting incident scene? Like, what were some of the things you were able to do in the feature that you maybe would have liked to do for the short, but like lighting differences, maybe choices that you were like, after 5 years, like, all right, let's not do that, let's do this kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of that from learning from having shot the short film. And also, I think having a bigger crew really helped, because I had a gaffer and an electrician on set, with like diffusion boards and whatnot to shape the light that I didn't have on the short film. And we had a professional makeup person who would do like wounds on the hand and prosthetics that we also didn't have on the short film. And I think all that adds to making it look better. I think we also got lucky with the weather, because we shot 2 months before the short. I mean, we shot it in September and the other one was in November. And that's really the time. September is the perfect time to shoot in Switzerland, by the way, because it's just like fantastic how it looks in the mountains with the leaves turning orange, and then they fall in October, and in November everything looks like very sad and depressed.
Skyfall.
And so we had like a fuller surroundings, and like more like this foresty feeling. The sun was higher up, and we would get like some nice lens flares. And also logistically, we were able to block the road, and that we didn't do on the short film.
You just laid those really guys out. Hope no cars come.
Well, no, they would come, and we would let them pass slowly, but the guys would lie on the ground and not move, because we couldn't
for continuity.
For the time, or the time for them to get up and then lie down again, and then makeup needs to be applied again. And so this really helped to have like a detour for the traffic to pass. There was only like a couple of times where like big trucks needed to pass through anyway, and we kind of managed those. But it helped to have this crew, to have the road blocked, and everything, to really focus on getting the best image. On the short film, we, like us as like 3 or 4 people, we had to think on all that too. And then now with like 25 people, I could really focus on cinematography.
Yeah. How long was the shooting schedule?
We had around 26 days.
Okay.
I think 23 to 24 main unit days, and then some second unit stuff without the actors, because a lot of the threat things that you see in the film, or like a gun being pulled up to the ceiling, or also a sewing machine stitching the title, that was done like on separate days, without like on a minimal crew, without the actors. So that was nice to have those days extra as well, to really get those inserts, because Freddie and me knew we needed those to tell the story.
Yeah. Was this, I should have looked this up, was this your first feature?
It's kind of my first feature. I did one at the end of my studies, a 90-minute film, but it's like on a student film level. So it's we did shoot it on a red, which was like at the time was like the biggest thing I ever did with shooting with a red. So it was nice, and I think I learned a lot from that project, obviously. But I would therefore say this is my second feature, but my first real one.
Right.
If you know
First,
what I
like,
mean.
outside of school, sure. So what'd you learn from doing that then? Not the first one, but this one. Like what I always hesitate to say what mistakes did you make, because no one wants to be like, here's where I fucked up. But you always learn from mistakes. So maybe you don't have to share like what the mistake was, but what'd you learn from it?
You mean from shooting So Torn?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I learned so much. I mean, the biggest takeaway was to really get a crew together that you trust and work well together. And a lot of the people that I worked with on the project, I knew them from years before, and they were friends of mine. And then you have already this trust, and you're gonna be spending 1 month with them in the same place, like sleeping at the same place and spending every day together. And I think if you get this crew like working like an well-oiled machine, that makes everything so much smoother and so much more enjoyable, because then just everything just works out. And if I would work with like complete strangers for like a month that I haven't met before, I might be a bit concerned whether I might ask this or that to that person. Would the person be offended, or like is it too much to ask? Or and this way is really just everyone's working so well together. And I think craft wise, it also told me that yes, you can shoot a feature on the FX6 with zooms. So that was a good takeaway. And that color grading makes a huge difference. I mean, I used color graders before, but we spent a lot of resources on the color grading here and a lot of time, because we knew we needed to get it right, and it would elevate the images a lot, because with the Sony zoom lenses, you get kind of like a clean look. It's not very filmic.
Yeah.
It's not very. It doesn't have like a very
pristine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it doesn't have like a very own aesthetic, I guess. And so our colorist Simon Hardecker in Switzerland, he was able to really elevate that and make it look like it was shot on Alexa or something, and it just looked great. And I think, I want to do that more often, to really have a great colorist on a project and not just someone at the agency or the production company doing it him or herself, just to save money. But I think it really elevates the project. And I think those are the biggest takeaways.
Sure. I mean, and also to your point about craft, like I feel like obviously, cinema was sort of literally was invented in America, but it's, the entire film world is kind of America focused. And I think one thing that you guys not necessarily lucked out on, but certainly used to your advantage was we don't often see Switzerland. Like your production value, even if to you it was, because I always try to tell like students, like wherever you live, that's new to a lot of people. If you're in the middle of Ohio, shoot that, because we see LA and New York and Atlanta all the time. So like having Switzerland as your, if to you probably was like, it's my backyard, but to us, it's like, that looks great, and you can use something like it. You don't have to church up an FX6 because you've got a great, environment. You got great sets, whatever, houses and stuff like that,
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's something that Freddie, from the beginning, he wanted to capitalize on, to shoot in Switzerland, have the landscape like be its own character, these steep valleys, so that the characters feel trapped, and have this production feel, have this international feeling to it, even though they're speaking English and the signage is in English.
Right.
It is clearly set somewhere else, and I think that makes some of the appeal of the project. Yeah, and there was a point where very early on where we discussed shooting it in the US. I think in Big Bear, or something.
I mean, Big Bear's gorgeous.
Yeah, it is, and I think it would have worked, but this is like a different type of landscape, and I'm really glad that we did it in Switzerland to have this international appeal, and for Switzerland, it's also new to have productions from overseas come to Switzerland. It doesn't happen a lot. The Swiss film industry is rather small, and we do it like everyone's doing like their own stuff. And international co-productions is really a rarity over here, especially with America. It almost never happens. With Europe, it kind of does, but then it doesn't have this ocean in between of the co-production, which helps to make it even bigger and like have more of a wider appeal, right?
Yeah. No, and honestly, I've been to Big Bear to go snowboarding and stuff, and been up there in the summer to like hang out. My buddy's got a house up there, and the issue it's smart you didn't, because the issue that you would run into up there is part of it is a national park, so it's federal land. So you would have where you probably may have wanted to film might not have been permittable.
Yeah. Okay.
And you run into all these problems trying to shoot on federal park land. And California, I think, is 40% parkland, which is amazing for visitors. You know, it's free. You just go and whatever. It's one of the greatest gifts California's given to the world, is like you just come visit. You can camp there for free. Maybe there's a camping fee or something, but it's cheap, free to cheap. And just enjoy like some of the most beautiful nature in the world. But you can't film there. Yeah.
Well, then, and you need to do it somewhere else. It's way less strict in Switzerland, actually. They opened their homes to us, and we were literally shot in homes of people that they live in, and they would just let us shoot there for like a couple of days or even weeks, because everyone's so excited about filming, because it doesn't happen all the time. And I don't know about LA. I heard that people are like used to it or even getting annoyed about it.
No, they don't get annoyed, but it's like this. Again, this is something else I tell students about, like filming where you live, is exactly like you're saying. People don't see it, so they don't know what to do. If you go to some random tiny little bodega, like gas station, whatever, in LA, and you're like, hey, we want to shoot something here, they'll just pull out like a permit. They're like, here you go, $15,000.
Yeah.
And you're like, damn it. Like, no, they all know the game, you know, so it's restrictive to film here, which is part of the reason why it's been an issue recently, is all those restrictions, and they're working on it. It's not I don't know where it's going to go, but right now it's piled up for sure. So and I think it must have been great for your career too, being, you know, it's kind of the big fish in the small pond thing of like, if there aren't a lot of Swiss filmmakers, you get more work.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And to be honest, the commercial industry in Switzerland is quite big, because Switzerland has a lot of money. And so they need ads. So there's always like work in that, but the fictional market is like really small, and there you can really stand out quite quickly. And now with our film screening at Locarno Film Festival, which is the most important one in Switzerland, it's huge. Then you really meet a lot of people, and you can make a career out of it, and like standing out from competition. So that's nice too.
Yeah.
In the fictional market. Yeah.
Talk to me about the importance of film festivals, because I feel like a lot of younger filmmakers or people starting out don't realize, you know, it seems like a rigged game or whatever, but it's like, you tell me how. I was about to editorialize. You tell me how important going to like these, because you did South by, you did, I think, Camera Mage or whatever, like all going to all these, like, what do you get out of it beyond just having a film there?
Yeah, I mean, the most important thing is to meet people. In South by, which was my, like, with the feature, it was my first major festival that I attended with a known feature film. And so I really did my research and looked up all the people that were nominated that year. And I would text them beforehand already and ask, hey, are you around the 10 days in Austin? Would you like to meet for coffee? And with a lot of them, I met for coffee, and I'm still in contact with them. We follow each other on Instagram now, and some of them I met again on Camera Image in Poland. So it really helps to build a network to be around these festivals. And the other thing is, when you have a film screening there, they treat you differently. They kind of really roll out the red carpet for you, because you're then like kind of the lineup and whatnot, and you get to do Q&As on the stage. And after the Q&A, it's always very cute. The people come up to you and give some compliments or ask some more questions, and so you can also communicate with the audience, which also happens rarely otherwise. If you do like a theatrical release, which is nice, or like a VOD release, you don't get too often to talk to your audience, and film festivals really allows that. And I think all these mixers and like networking happy hours where you can just get a beer, and in every line that you're standing at the bar, there's like a conversation happening, because everyone wants to connect. It's almost, well, you gotta, it's in Europe, I think it's a bit different there. It's really more felt as like a competition, because you're maybe taking away a job from the next EP. Whereas in the US, I found at South by specifically, everyone wants to work together, and there's no like hard feelings or like no competition feelings, which is great. And I think therefore it's cool to go to festivals.
Yeah, I think there is like, if I were to guess, like, because I've never had something. Yeah, I've been to festivals, but I've never had some. I think Americans just by nature are so competitive that the idea of someone taking your job isn't really in your head, because it's like, I could have done better. Like if I lose, it's because I fucked up. It's not like, none of us are owed anything. So if someone else wins, whatever, it's like, shit, I could have done better.
Yeah.
You don't immediately go,
Yeah.
Not saying that that's what the Europeans do, but
no, that's probably the better way to handle things. And the other thing maybe to keep in mind for film festivals, and this is like more towards the business aspect of the thing, because I think in the end it's also part of a business, is that you get seen. They might take your photograph in front of like a wall with like logos or something, or on stage, and then you can put it on IMDb, and it's just good to have material from yourself on the internet, I think. Because in my case, it's a bit special, because I have a different guy called Sebastian Klinger as well.
The cellist.
And he's a German cellist. Yeah, exactly.
I ran into him looking you up. Yeah.
Yeah. And it confuses people. And it happens with other people too, who have the same name as other people that are more famous in that sense. And so it helps to have material of yourself on the internet to build your presence, because people want to Google you. And if they find a different person than you, they're just confused, or wouldn't want to like call you, or they don't know where to get your info. So I think that helps also to be attending film festivals.
Well, and to your point, like producers or anyone who works not in the creative side of film. Well, producing is obviously in the creative side, but what I'm getting at is, if you have photos of you in front of the step and repeat or at a festival or something, they go, "Oh, he's a real DP." Or the classic one is obviously someone will always, if there's a set photographer and you've got like a big Alexa build or whatever, you got to get that photo of you pointing, past the camera or whatever. Yeah. I remember a directing teacher in college was like, "All right, everyone, get it out of the way. We're going to set you up and just point. And then we'll take a photo, and that's how you know you're a real filmmaker." And it's like, but they look, it's stupid, but they look for that, because there's markers of, and nowadays, unfortunately, there's like a whole thing of like, oh, I'm hearing like even actors have to have a bunch of followers on Instagram, like that matters. But it's little markers that they look for. That's like now the bare minimum of like, oh, are they quote unquote real or not?
Yeah, exactly.
But you do have to kind of play that game.
Yeah. And to be honest, in my case, it helps that I'm also a producer on the project, because then at festivals, you get to play one of two cards, depending on who you're talking to. which is fun. I actually have two business cards as well. Because sometimes if you're talking to a director, you want to be the DP of his next project, so you talk to him. But if you meet by accident someone from like a streaming service or another business interested person, you want to be a producer, and doing both I think really helps too, to talk to even more people.
Well, and that I also have two business cards. One of them's because I'm a journalist, and the other one's the DP.
Okay,
Pull them out. But because sometimes it's like a film journalism thing, for this website called Pro Video Coalition. So sometimes if I want like to borrow a camera or some lenses or something, I'll pull out that one because they
good.
Because as a DP, awesome. They're like, what are you working on? But that website's really well respected, so people go, oh shit.
Yeah.
But that you brought up another thing that I think about often, which is when people talk about networking. I don't know about other industries or other sections of the film world, but DPs specifically, like on Reddit or wherever, are always talking about like, where can I meet other DPs to network? It's like, you don't network with other DPs. They're not going to hire you. You need to network with directors.
Exactly.
You need to be the only DP in the room at a networking event with directors or producers.
Yeah. It's probably easier to connect with a DP because you can talk about lenses or like approaches to lighting or whatnot. But I think it's true. It's more important to talk to directors. And yeah, it's always like, I'm not very extroverted. I think I'm getting used to it. At these festivals, they really help me approach people, like not hesitate, not fearing that they might reject you or something, because they're all just people and they don't. Yeah, I think they want to talk to. But yeah, it's important to meet those directors.
Yeah. So doing this podcast for 5 years, I've figured out like what questions are good questions. If I have to ask like a question, so I'll try to pull it. When anytime I go to a Q&A, I'm going to ask. Sorry, my brain is in like 4 different places right now. Basically, I hate Q&As because everyone has a bad question, or they hit you with I have more of a comment than a question. It's like, oh, for Christ's sake, like we're wasting everyone's time. So I'll try to pull out like a podcast question. And I did this the other day at the ASC Clubhouse where we were getting some questions. And then I pulled out a podcast question, and the DP, who I ended up having on the podcast like fucking 2 weeks later because of this.
Oh, cool.
He was like, that's a great one. And I was like, nailed it. But how were the Q&As for you? Did you find that people had good questions at the festivals? Because I'm talking about like when you go to a film screening.
Yeah, they're nice. And usually I was at the festival when the director was there too, Freddie McDonald. So most of the questions were directed his way, which is fine. It's also like story related. Like there's only very few questions for cinematography.
Right.
Camera Image is totally different. Obviously, I went there myself. I was the only crew member, and I did the Q&A by myself. And I got to really, like with you, like to go in depth into why did I shoot with the FX6? What's with like the international approach of this production? It's like this weird mixture of Swiss landscape and English-speaking actors. Like, how did you go about all this?
Right.
And I think because I was the only one on stage, I also got into telling those parts about the producing side and maybe even some story related aspects. But usually I'm very, very happy with the Q&As, and I'm trying to think if I ever got like a really like a bad question, but I don't think I experienced that yet.
Well, at those festivals, you're a lot of times the people in the audience are other filmmakers, so I feel like that's better. I'm more thinking of when you go to like, an open screening where that's like, and at the end the filmmakers will be there to ask questions, and it's just some film goer. What was it like working with Pedro Pascal? You're like, oh Christ. Was it hard to make the film? Yes. Next, that kind of stuff.
That's a good question.
Yeah. Speaking of questions, the hour just flew by. I know. I know it's already time to go, but I'll let you get to sleep. But
awesome. Yeah. Thanks so much for this talk. It's wonderful to know you and to be able to talk to you.
Of course, man. Yeah. The movie's great, by the way. So congrats.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
All right. Later, dude.
Well, see ya. Bye, Kenny. Thank you.
Frame and Reference is an Owlbot production, produced and edited by me, Kenny McMillan. If you'd like to support the podcast directly, you can do so by going to frameandrefpod.com and clicking on the Patreon button. It's always appreciated, and as always, thanks for listening.